Hey folks, you might have seen the video earlier. I was a little bit yellow. I am not so yellow now. Hopefully you are well. Excuse the decor. I'm in a hotel room. I'm actually just setting up, as you can see, to present for the weekend. And I wanted to tackle a subject, and it's not a long video this, but it's a quite important video for those of you that are starting up in a business, those of you that have maybe making those steps into embarking and becoming a professional property investor, leaving your careers and actually stepping into the field of any sort of entrepreneurialism. There are many blocks that people face when they start off, and what I thought I'd do is share three here from a lovely lady who's come through some of the programs on property. Her name's Helena, originally from Sweden. Some of you might know her if you're watching, or hi Helena if she's watching. I just thought I'd share with you here what she was writing on some slides that we've got tomorrow, some of the challenges that she's faced. So, learning everything from the beginning, even making spreadsheets, money blocks, and handling fear and negative people. And interestingly enough, they're not uncommon issues and blocks that people have. So if you're watching this right now and you're starting out, and one of the fears that you have is learning everything from the beginning, that's part of being in a business. I'm currently going through a process of relearning a subject which I started years ago, and I used to teach around the area of stock market trading. And anytime you go back into something, or anytime you start something, what you're going to find is you either have two emotional responses. One is fear, or one is excitement, or it could be a mixture of both. I was online last night with a very good friend of mine who's Australian, and we were talking through with some people about social marketing and social media. And afterwards he sent me a message to say, it's great to be in this learning space again, learning something new. So I think the way to embark on this journey is not to be fearful of the fact that you are starting something out. I mean, she had to learn spreadsheets. She learned spreadsheets. Her background, I know from knowing her as a friend, was that she was a caterer. So if you're in the catering industry and your specialism is being in front of a kitchen and cooking food, etc., and suddenly you're thrown into this world, in this case of property investing, but it could be any subject, and she didn't know how to do spreadsheets, you're going to have to learn that. You have to learn that technique. The nice thing is with things like computers and spreadsheets and numbers is you can go online now, and there are self-study, home study. Self-education is a massive subject. Massive, massive, massive. The whole world is changing now along the theme of self-education. So I don't think you should be afraid of going into that space. And I'm excited because I've got new books I'm reading again. I'm reading old books on chart patterns and candlestick patterns and trading the stock market and all that stuff. It's just something I'm excited about, to relearn that, and it's something I'd like to pass on to my daughters if they want to learn it as well. I think it's important that we go through this process of continuing to keep learning. Here, she talks about the fact that she had money blocks. Money blocks are major blocks for most people. In the United Kingdom, money is a massive issue when it comes to financial management of it, talking about it, dealing with it, parting with it. You want to take my money? Educationally, people struggle to even invest in themselves, and yet they'll go to university and they'll do a degree which could cost £30,000-40,000, which, if you think about it, gets you 4 years of education and no guarantee at the end of it. And in fact, for most people, 15 years of paying that back to more. I think the British government say the average graduate ends up paying about 100 grand for their education, but they've paid the interest and everything else. So understanding money, understanding how to manage money and deal with it and communicate with people about money is really important, not shying away from it, not being afraid to deal with it. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, should I do this? I'm afraid. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay, because you're not going to have to master everything as a property investor, as an entrepreneur. Certain things you can pass off and have other people do that for you. That's called leverage. So if money is a block for you, then it's important you deal with that. If you haven't had a look, go and join me on the Growth Tribes. Go to www.growthtribes.com, and if you go there on the subscription, you can do a month, I think, for £1 or something like that. In the portal there's a whole video series on money and money management, and that's a really powerful set of videos that go through simple stuff like monthly management, how to deal with your debt, how to log your spending and work out what percentage of that goes to a certain area. So money management is something you have to deal with. The money blocks, if you don't deal with those blocks now, they're always going to be there, which means you'll never grow from a wealth perspective to any particular level. And then fear handling and negative people, susceptible to the negative influence of other people. I think that's a very big one for a lot of people. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, you know, I'm not sure how I can handle that because I get it every single day from my husband, from my wife, from the family, you're going to have to surround yourself with the right people. We've actually just done a podcast. Actually, if you go and look up Growth Cries podcast, you can find it on Spotify or on iTunes. We've just recorded this week. When I'm recording this live video, it should come out in the next week or so, probably the end of this week actually. Our current podcast, if it's not this one, it's one coming up very shortly, and that's dealing with negative people and how to handle them. And I think it's like an hour and a half podcast on just the different approaches that I recommend that people use. It's a tough subject because if you're close to somebody and they're negative, you know, do you listen to them? Do you not listen to them? Do you try and solve their problems? Do you try and fix them? Do you ignore them? There's so many different ways to deal with negative people. And remember that they are not negative because of you. They might be negative because what you're doing is challenging their own beliefs. And it might be that your perception of them is that they're negative, but actually they don't see themselves as negative. So there's all these different things that go on in our heads when we're dealing with and building a business. So the key thing here is, I think, don't be afraid to start something new. Don't be afraid to give it a go, because ultimately, if you get the right systems in place and you put your foot down and you start moving into that business and you've got the right structure, then you're not just giving it a go, you're actually building a business and you're getting off the zero mark, which a lot of people don't even get there. When I run my property events, many people are afraid to make the investment in themselves. Think about it, you've got the opportunity to generate millions for yourself over the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, because that's effectively what you do when you build a portfolio. Make 100 grand a year over the next 40 years, that's £4 million. That's the value of your freedom, and yet people won't invest 10, 15, 20, 25, 30,000 pounds to get themselves educated to do that, which if you think about it, that's the value and that's the investment. It's tiny. And this is a challenge that a lot of people have, is they don't realize how valuable they are as an individual. So, and I'm looking down here just to remind you, I'm looking at some slides that I'm setting up for the weekend. Hopefully that helps. Bit of motivation, a bit of inspiration, but also just a practical look at this. Think about the fact that you are an amazing human being and you have an incredible opportunity in front of you. And if there's money blocks, let's find a way to get over them. If there's negative people around you, let's find a way to manage that environment. Not necessarily get rid of them, but manage that environment. Some of them you might need to get rid of. And then, you know, the learning process is you do it in stages. You treat this like a university of whatever subject you're going into, whether it's property, stock market, going online and trading, etc., communications. Oh, and that reminds me, if you haven't done so already, go and have a look at our communications workshop that's coming up on the 21st of March. It's coming up literally in about 2.5, 3 weeks. It's a 3-hour communications program, and I think it's like £15 plus VAT. And for those of you that really want to go for it and come join me in June 26th, 27th and 28th, I've got a 3-day intensive communication workshop. And that's not just a workshop, actually, that's a seminar. So the 3-hour workshop and the 3-day is just full on. And again, opportunity to learn. So don't be afraid. Overcome the blocks. Hopefully there's a few things that you've taken out of this. If nothing else, just a bit of inspiration to go, yes, I can do this. Start overcoming those blocks. Dr. O signing out. Got to get back to my slides. Got work to do. Got to meet my team. Have a great weekend. Cheers. I'm trying to press the button. Oh, where is it? It's here.